The queen's voice shook the palace until a human whispered, "It was me." The palace of Eloria was a monument to power, its spires cutting the sky like blades of crystal. Within those walls, Queen Selira ruled not only with iron will but with a voice said to move the very hearts of her people. Her singing was no ordinary art. It was magic, a sound that could stir loyalty, calm rebellions, and even command the tides. That morning, the palace was unusually tense. Word had spread. The queen would speak in the grand hall at noon, an unprecedented occasion. Courtiers gathered, their jewels shimmering under vaulted ceilings, murmuring in fear and awe. Outside, the streets of the capital filled with citizens eager to hear the voice that had shaped their lives. Selira entered the hall with her customary grace, her long silver gown trailing like liquid moonlight. Her eyes scanned the crowd, piercing through noble and servant alike. She raised her hands and began to sing, not softly, but with a trembling force that seemed to shake the stones of the palace itself. It was not a song of joy. It was grief, fury, and accusation all at once. Her voice carried an unbearable weight, echoing like thunder. Whispers rippled through the hall. The queen's song was not merely performance, it was prophecy. Then the voice broke. Selira's knees buckled, and she collapsed onto the marble floor. Gasps filled the room. Servants rushed forward, but the queen waved them away, her fingers trembling toward the center dais. She spoke in a voice low but deadly clear. "They know. They have betrayed the crown." The hall fell silent. Then a murmur rose, a chorus of fear, suspicion, and outrage. Selira's advisors stepped forward, their robes brushing the floor, their faces masks of duty and uncertainty. They begged her to rest, to speak privately. But Selira shook her head. "No," she said. "The truth will be heard." She took a deep breath, as if preparing herself for something far greater than any battle she had ever fought. Her lips moved in a wordless prayer. Then she spoke, her voice cutting the air like a blade. "Someone in this hall has poisoned the heart of Eloria. They have stolen the song that binds us. And until it is returned, this kingdom will crumble." Shock swept through the hall. Nobles glanced at one another, suspicion lighting their eyes like wildfire. Guards tightened their grip on their spears. But none spoke. And then, from the very back of the hall, a quiet voice broke the tension. "It was me." The words were almost lost under the gasp that followed. Every eye turned toward the speaker, a human dressed plainly in worn leather, standing with his head bowed. He was unlike anyone in the hall, his skin tanned and weathered by years under the sun, his eyes steady despite the sea of shocked faces. Selira's gaze locked on him. Her voice faltered. "Who are you?" "My name is Kael," he said, his voice steady. "I am no noble, no soldier. I am but a wanderer. Yet I know the truth of your song, Queen Selira. I took it, not for power but for love." The hall erupted in whispers. Nobles cried out in outrage. Soldiers stepped forward. But Kael raised a hand, and the sound of his voice brought silence. "I heard her song," he continued. "Not in this hall, not in the courts of kings, but in the wilds where her voice touched me before the palace ever knew it. I loved her song. And when I learned they planned to bind it forever to the crown, I could not let it be caged. So I took it, to return it to her, freely." Selira's eyes widened. Her knees shook. You claim you have my song." Kael nodded. Slowly he stepped forward, pulling from beneath his cloak a crystal orb, faintly glowing with silver light. It pulsed with sound, Selira's sound. The song. The room seemed to still, as if time itself had stopped. Selira reached for the orb. The moment her fingers touched it, the air filled with her voice once more. Pure, unbroken, filled with both pain and forgiveness. The tremor in her voice faded. Her knees steadied. Selira rose, holding the orb high. "He speaks the truth," she said softly, looking at Kael. "You returned what was mine, not out of ambition but out of heart. And for that, you have my forgiveness." A murmur rose through the hall, but Kael stepped forward before it could turn into chaos. "I only ask for peace. Let the song remain free. Let it belong to no crown, no throne." Selira's gaze swept the crowd. Then she turned to Kael, her voice now calm but filled with power. "So be it. The song belongs to all of Eloria. And to you, Kael, the man who reminded me that even a queen must listen to the heart." The hall broke into applause, not of nobles claiming victory, but of hearts touched by truth. Outside, the citizens of Eloria heard the song rise again, ringing louder than ever, carrying over the city like a tide. That day, the palace stood not as a monument of power, but as a place of truth. And the voice that had shaken it would forever remember the whisper that changed everything. "It was me," Kael said again. And this time it was not a confession. It was a promise. Selira's voice filled the hall again, stronger now, carrying both forgiveness and resolve. She stepped forward, her silver gown shimmering, and placed her hand over Kael's. The crystal orb pulsed once more, and the song poured into the room, not as a command, but as a living hymn that wrapped itself around every soul present. "The song is not mine alone," Selira declared. "It is the voice of Eloria itself." Her gaze swept the nobles, the soldiers, and the gathered people. "And the man who returned it reminds us all, truth cannot be bound." The murmurs turned to awe, then to applause. Some noblemen lowered their heads in shame, others whispered to their neighbors. Soldiers relaxed their stance. Even the air in the grand hall seemed lighter. Kael stepped forward humbly. "I only wished for your song to be free. It is the voice of hope. Let no throne, no crown ever claim it again." Selira nodded, eyes glistening. "Then it shall be so." She turned to her people. "Let the song belong to everyone. Let it be sung in every village, every hall, every heart." A wave of voices rose in answer, joining her own in harmony. The song that once shook a palace now united a kingdom. Outside, under the crystal towers of Eloria, the air shimmered. People gathered, listening, singing. And Kael stood quietly at the steps of the palace, whispering to himself, "It was me." It was no confession now. It was a promise. The song would live forever. And so would the truth.